Hey guys, and welcome into the newest episode of the 32 team mock draft series. Today we're going to be doing the 7th overall pick, and that's going to be the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers have a lot of holes to fill. I guess they're kind of in a rebuild at this point, which is not the situation that Panthers fans were thinking with how McCaffrey's been playing, with how we thought Cam Newton would be back. But alas, no more Cam Newton on the squad as he has been released. Still looking for a team out there. Luke Kuechly with a surprise retirement. James Bradberry signed elsewhere with the New York Giants. I mean, a lot of holes to fill on this team. And the only thing we have going for them right now is we know they have a running back and we know they have a quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater who they paid a lot of money to. Other than that, I mean, even Greg Olson's found a new team. It's a lot of holes to fill. They even traded Trey Turner for Russell Okung. So as a Panthers fan, it's definitely a rough time right now. You hope that they can do something well in free agency, but this is probably going to be a bridge year, and it's kind of hard to see for Panthers fans. But if you do like what you see from this video, be sure to leave a subscribe and a like on the video. If you are part of the 95% of viewers that do watch these videos and do not subscribe, please hit the subscribe button as we're building up the channel, doing a lot of mock drafts until the draft comes, full NFL content here on the channel, so be sure to check it out. But with the first overall pick for the Carolina Panthers, I'm selecting Derrick Brown at pick 7. Here's the thing about Derrick Brown. I think he is a top 3 talent in this draft. Obviously, D tackle is not a position where I think it's being taken so high right now. I mean, obviously, Quinn Williams went last year to the Jets. That was a big need for them, but when you look at what the talent is right now and what the teams at the top of the draft need, D tackle is not really on that list, but he is definitely a top 3 talent out of Auburn. 6'5", 326. He played for 4 years, had 170 tackles, 33 of them were tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks. He also added 8 pass deflections and 5 forced fumbles. At the combine, one of the most notable things I saw was the 28 reps that he had on the bench press. Some strengths that he has. I mean, if you watch this guy's tape, he is an absolute home wrecker. He's quick right off the snap. As soon as the ball snaps, he's pretty much already engaged with the blocker. He has better instincts than some of the offensive linemen do with their snap. He's got such a wide tackle radius. He's able to pretty much get his hand on somebody and bring him down, no matter where. If he's able to touch you, he's pretty much gonna be able to take you down. His size, strength, and athleticism is such a deadly combo. Because like I said, I mean, 6'5", 326 is huge, but he doesn't play like that. He plays like he's light on his feet. He plays hard. He's able to engage blockers. Like I said, quick. Athleticism. I mean, the pass deflections. He's able to do pretty much whatever he wants on that defensive line and do it at an extremely high level. And another thing is, I mean, when you look at what he does with his strength, he's able to just completely bull rush. If he's not able to disengage from a blocker, you can bet your ass that the blocker is pretty much going to be driven backwards so far that it's going to cause some disruption in the back, make a quarterback have to roll out, maybe a running back have to switch lanes. He's a disruptor. And another thing that you notice a lot is he forces double teams. Teams are not able to stop them with one blocker, which opens up a lot more gaps for maybe a linebacker to come in and fill a gap and get through the hole. The only things he really has to work on, he's got to focus on balancing a lot more. Just keeping his balance, not really losing any edge in a block battle. And if he can knee bend a little bit better, I think it'll make him just an absolute beast of a prospect. But overall, like I said, this guy's a top 3 talent. There's not much shame in his game. He is absolute monster, and adding him to that defensive line would be very good for the Panthers, who lost Poe and McCoy. So you got to fill up some hole. And I think at this point, you just have to go best available with talent, because there's pretty much a lot of holes that you could fill on this team, and there's no right or wrong answer. I think receiver you're probably good with as well. There's a lot of good depth there at the receiver position. But other than that, other than the positions I've already named in this video, I think you can do whatever you want there. But I have them taking Derrick Brown at pick 7. Then we go over to pick 38. I'm taking another Auburn prospect, Noah Igbinoghene, out of Auburn, the cornerback. He had a very solid past 2 seasons with them, 5'10", 198. He ran a 4.48 at the combine with 15 reps on the bench and 37 inches from the vertical jump. In his 2 years, he had 92 tackles, two and a half of them were tackles for loss. He only had 1 interception but 18 pass deflections, and he also took back 2 kick returns for a touchdown. Some strengths is, even at his size at 5'10", his physicality is absolutely insane. As you can even see in the image there, he is so good at breaking down blocks. He will chop at the arms. If somebody catches the ball, he will chop that arm until the ball falls out. His recovery is very good as well as a prospect. If a route gets broken, especially on short routes, he's able to recover very quickly and get right back on the route, forcing incompletion as well. His press is second to none out of the prospects in the corner market this year. he pretty much, if he's engaged with a receiver in the press, they're probably taken out of the play pretty quickly. And you hope that translates well to the NFL level. And his explosiveness is just unmatched in that defense. I mean, the Auburn defense was surprisingly has a lot of good talent coming out this year. I think that's a lot of what Derrick Brown and Igbinoghene have done. So getting both of them would be huge for the Panthers. Some weaknesses is that he's raw. He only had 2 years playing at Auburn. So he's going to need some time to develop. I mean, every corner pretty much needs a year to develop in the NFL, get accustomed to what the NFL does. He tackles high often, which you're going to need to teach him how to tackle low a little bit more often than what he's done. But his size and strength when it comes to tackling, he makes himself play a lot bigger than 5'10", I can tell you that. And another thing is that it's a thing a lot of corners struggle with for a while, is that if he can't find the ball when he's covering, or maybe he gets beat on a play, he will most likely get a flag. He doesn't really go back and track the ball if he can. He just kind of tries to break up the play, which causes a lot of penalties. We saw how many pass interference calls were called last year, and even with the new challenge rules, there was not really many of them overturned. So I think that he could definitely benefit from keeping his eyes in front of him, making sure that he's behind the play so he can make sure what he can do. But overall, this guy is going to be able to fill in that number 2 role of what Bradberry is. I think Dante Jackson could step up. I think Igbinoghene can help out a lot in that secondary and add a lot to what this Carolina Panthers defense is looking like, especially when you have a guy like Brian Burns last year who had such a good year. You still have Shaq Thompson, Dante Jackson. I mean, this is still a pretty solid, young, but potentially very good defense in the making. So definitely something that the Panthers fans should definitely be excited about. Then we go over to tight end at number 69. It is going to be Brycen Hopkins out of Purdue. Hopkins is one of my favorite tight ends in this class. 6'4", 245. He ran a 4.66 at the combine. He had 21 reps on the bench, 33.5 inches on the vertical, and for 4 years he got 130 catches for almost 2,000 yards. It was about 15 yards per catch and 16 touchdowns. When you look at what he can do, well, he's got the athletic traits. He's able to climb the ladder. He's able to break people on routes. I mean, his route running is pretty clean for a tight end. He's tough. He can take hits. A lot of tight ends struggle with catching the ball and taking the hits, which is, I mean, it's a struggle because tight ends are asked to do more than just receivers. They need to learn how to take the hits because that's the main thing. Tight ends need a little bit different, but Brycen Hopkins does it pretty well. He accelerates onto his blocks, so if he's in motion or anything like that, he will lay down a hit on whoever he's supposed to be blocking because they will be knocked out of the play or at least pushed hard enough to where you can open up that hole that you're going to want. And he's quick to search for the ball. When he makes the break on his route, his head's already turned around and he's ready for the catch. The problem is with some of his weaknesses, he doesn't always make the catch. His drop rate is pretty significant, especially for how much volume he's had. So cleaning up his hands is definitely going to be something you're going to want to look at the NFL level. He has issue with man coverage. There's times if somebody's pressed on him or playing tight man, a lot of times that drop rate kind of shows because of that. He's not able to catch his hands on it. Maybe he talks himself out of it or is bracing for a hit or whatever it is. And another thing is that a lot of people think he might have benefited from the scheme at Purdue. Like I said, his volume and everything. I mean, he did have a total of 16 touchdowns. So it's possible that they just kind of threw to him when he was. But my personal opinion, I think Hopkins is going to be a very, very solid tight end at the next level. Getting at pick 69 is going to be very good. And, with the whole Greg Olsen field, I don't think Ian Thomas or anybody in that tight end depth chart right now has shown anything to where they should be the starting tight end at the moment. I think tight end is definitely a position they're going to have to look at in the draft, and Brycen Hopkins can be that guy for them at pick 69. Then we go over to pick 113. I am selecting inside linebacker Khaleke Hudson out of Michigan. Now, Khaleke Hudson, his first, basically 2 years, but definitely first year, he was a DB. He was a safety. He has transitioned to the linebacker since then. He's 5'11", 224. He ran a 4.56 at the combine, but he had 30 reps on the bench with 33 inches of vertical. And in those 3 years that he's played, 217 total tackles, 22 of them were tackles for a loss, 10 sacks, 2 interceptions, 14 pass deflections, and 2 forced fumbles. So the volume is definitely there with the stats. Some strengths, he's a safety turn linebacker, which we've seen a lot of in today's day and age with the NFL. I mean, Isaiah Simmons coming in, we don't know if he should play safety or linebacker. Deion Jones, Deion Buchanan had a very solid few years for the Cardinals. So definitely that's kind of a mold that a lot of people are seeing nowadays. We even saw the Chargers in the playoffs run all safeties at linebacker. couple years back. So I mean that's definitely something that is being used a lot in the NFL because athleticism is so unmatched now. It's more than the brute strength it used to be. He's had 5 block punts at why am I blanking? At Michigan. 5 block punts, so he's definitely somebody you can use on special teams. He has amazing burst off of the line, so that's why the block punts happen so often. 2017 was definitely his best year. That's kind of when he was transitioning from safety to linebacker, so he's kind of playing nickel. He was kind of doing a lot, but he had 17.5 tackles for loss and 8 sacks just in 2017. He looks for the gaps to fill, so if there's an open gap and he can go in there and just completely punish whoever's at the end of that gap, he will do that. And he shows his toughness against linemen. He's not afraid, even though he's 5'11", 224, he's not afraid for a Mekhi Becton type lineman on the line. He's not afraid to go attack them, which is very good for him. So weaknesses that he does get caught up in traffic. He doesn't really know how to get around if there's a lot of bunched up linemen engaged. So that's definitely a problem he's got to do. He's got to have a better IQ to know where to go. Blockers can pretty much just toss him around easily once they get engaged with him. Yes, he's not afraid of them, but that doesn't mean that he can overmatch them all the time. So that's something he's going to need to work on, is getting around them. And his response time can definitely be improved. He has decent response time. He kind of understands the play, but there's some times where he understands it a little bit too late. He's got to be more precise on it, more quick, and he will be a very solid linebacker. With Luke Kuechly, with the retirement, it's definitely something that needs to be looked at. I think that with Tahir Whitehead and Thompson there, Brian Burns on the edge, I think you have a solid linebacker core, but getting a guy like Khaleke Hudson is a guy who can be used in separate sets. You need depth at the position, and like I said, there's no position right now that can't be filled, so maybe he goes back to his safety. Maybe you put him at a nickel spot. Maybe you put him at a weak side linebacker or strong side linebacker. I mean, there's so many things you could do with Khaleke Hudson. I think that he is a perfect fit for this Panthers defensive scheme and will prove very well for Carolina. Now at pick 148, I have them selecting defensive end Anfernee Jennings out of Alabama. Anfernee Jennings is a solid edge rusher, 6'2", 256. For 4 years, he had 193 total tackles with 33.5 tackles for loss, 14.5 sacks, and 18 pass deflections. Some strengths for him: he was a captain this last season for Alabama. Being an Alabama captain means a lot, especially with how much talent goes in and out of Nick Saban's team. Very good recognition on plays. He's able to understand what the play is and figure out how he's going to engage the lineman pretty much instantly. He beats tight ends on the edge. If there's ever a time where a team was, all right, we'll have a tight end take Jennings out on this play, it's pretty much not going to happen. Jennings is able to get around them, go right through them, whatever he has to do to get past them. With the 18 pass deflections, his hands are completely a weapon on that defensive line for how much he's able to swat the ball. He pops up pulling guards, which what I kind of mean by that is that if a guard is taking a pull on maybe a run play or stretch play, whatever it would be, Jennings is basically able to knock them off their feet. He's able to take them out of the play. Sometimes it does take him out of the play, but overall he is able to disrupt whatever pull the guard is trying to do, and he does it at a very high level. Some things that I definitely think he could work on. He needs to hustle a little bit more when the play is going. He lacks pursuit speed, which is kind of what you'd like on an edge rusher. If a running back beats him on the edge, you want him to be able to take an angle and kind of still disrupt the play. I mean, one thing I always love watching is the Randall Cobb play a couple years back against it was that Bears-Packers game where Randall Cobb broke through the whole offense. He ran an 80-yard touchdown, but Khalil Mack was with him the whole way. He was running right behind him, and at the 5-yard line, he dove and he couldn't get the tackle. But those edge rushers that don't give up on pursuit are always known as one of the best in the league, and he needs to bend more on his edge rushing. If he's able to get lower and able to be athletic a little bit more on the edge, I think he could turn out to be a very solid starter. When you look at the defensive line for this Panthers team, Brian Burns is great on the edge, but at the actual defensive end position, it's very lackluster in my opinion. Kawan Short's been kind of holding it down right there because of they like having the big guys up in the front, but having Jennings, Short, and Brown in the middle, I think will prove to be very well within the next year or two. I think Jennings could definitely earn a spot pretty much right away, but it could take him some time. I think he could rotate in a little bit more this year and then probably earn the starting spot within the next year. Now we get into the fun parts of the draft, is the day 3 picks, where it's pretty much just a toss-up on whatever's going to happen. But I have him selecting offensive tackle Terence Steele out of Texas Tech. Steele is 6'6", 312 pounds with 35-inch arms. He's got size and length. You just look at his arms. I mean, they're basically, he could probably touch his ankles in that position if his arms weren't bent. But he has a lot of patience on blocks. If the block has to come to him, he's able to understand when that's supposed to happen. On top of that, he run blocks very well for a tackle position. A lot of tackles are only good at pass blocking. They need help on the rush. He's able to run block pretty well, and he's got a lot of upper body power in his frame as well. The problem with that upper body power is that it's not synced with his lower body power. So a lot of times he doesn't understand when he's supposed to be using his footwork or his finesse or whatever he's supposed to be doing. He's got to work on that a lot. He's flagged almost every game for a holding or a false start. He's got to clean up his discipline and be able to understand how to not let the Zebras throw the yellow flags. And he struggles on sustaining the blocks for a long period of time. He's got to be able to hold blocks more. When you're getting a guy at 152, you're pretty much going to use him for depth only. You don't really see these guys transitioning to starting jobs unless it's a miracle pick. And it's possible. I mean, all these guys are always possible to be. But what you need right now is depth. Obviously, they traded Trey Turner for Russell Okung. They still have Greg Little, who they drafted last year, who I think could definitely probably transition to guard if they need be. But you just need some depth on that offensive line, as there's some positions that really don't have much behind them. So getting some depth, especially at this day 3, will be good for the Carolina Panthers. And speaking of depth, the next 2 picks are still going to be offensive linemen. That's how we're going to end the draft. So if you don't want to hear the offensive lineman pick, it's okay to click off the video now. But Danny Pinter out of Ball State, love the college name, obviously, 184. Pinter 6'4", 306. He added 50 pounds in 2017 to be a little bit bigger. He became solid at run blocking at his time at Ball State. He's got enough athleticism to kind of reach to the next level. And another thing I like about him is that he baits rushers very well with his hands. He's able to show something and then switch it up real quick to make a rusher think that he's doing one thing and he ends up doing another. What stinks is that he's still underwhelming physically. He added those 50 pounds, but he could still afford to add some more muscle, kind of be a little bit more athletic as well. He's got short arms, which is obviously unfortunate for a lineman. You want them to have longer arms to be able to engage quicker, and pass protection is not really a strength for him. He's definitely something he's going to need to work at. Again, depth spot. You just need more people and more bodies on the offensive line, and a guy like Danny Pinter could end up being very well at the next level, especially as a backup, but those things he's definitely going to have to work on. And with the last pick, again, another offensive lineman. This is one of my favorite 7th-round players or 7th-round grades that I have on a prospect, and that's Michael Onwenu out of Michigan. He was a 3rd-team All-Conference in the last 2 seasons, which is very good for a guy in Michigan. 6'3", 344. He's got 34 and 3/8 inch arms, so he's got long arms, and he's an absolute beast of a person. I mean, just looking at him right there, that is a scary human being. He has the NFL size and strength. He recovers pretty quick for his size on blocks. If he gets beat for a second, he's able to recover quick. He's got those big, heavy hands, which are able to just be clubs when it comes to blocking. And if you haven't been able to tell by just the picture, he's not able to be power rushed. Nobody's pretty much going to go and run through him at any level. He is an absolute behemoth of a person. His downside is that he plays smaller than his build. He needs to kind of use that physical frame to be bigger than the other person on the other side of the line. He needs to work at run blocking as a guard. That's pretty much what you're going to be used for. He needs to be more patient as well with his blocks. We talked about that a little bit before with the other linemen. So just kind of making sure that you know when you have to engage and when you're able to let them engage and just hold your own. And he's limited athletically. That comes with a guy at his size and strength. But overall, I think that getting these 3 linemen in the past 3 rounds will definitely add to the depth. I think the starting rotation is able to kind of mix around with what you have. But like I said, for Panthers fans, it's kind of a weird year for you guys because so many players left. You have Teddy Bridgewater to be excited about, but the surrounding cast around him, it's definitely lackluster at some positions to where, I mean, you could pretty much do this mock draft in so many different ways, and it would probably work out well for the Panthers at any of them. But this is how mine went, and let me know how you think I did in the comment section below, especially for you Panthers fans. Be sure to leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're building up the channel very well. We're getting up to the NFL draft time in just over a couple weeks, so definitely going to want to keep on the lookout. We do a new mock draft every single day, so be on the lookout for tomorrow's video. And like I said, if you did like the video, please make sure to leave a like. If you didn't, just refresh the page, try it again, let me know how I did in the second time. And without further ado, that will be it for me. I will see you guys in the next video.